tireless defender of our economic and individual freedoms. I'd like to introduce to you David Koch, our chairman at the Americans for Prosperity.
So let me talk over a movie here. This is regarding a question people don't always understand because they don't have the background. You don't come preloaded with this background knowledge, which gives shape to these scenes in the movie and depth. And so I'm looking at 1 hour and 14:43 to 1 hour and 17:30, and I don't know how else to do this. So it's going to be, very clunky in terms of studio values, but I think it will make sense. So when you introduce Mr. Koch, the Koch brothers, and Americans for Prosperity, what you have is a fossil fuel funded, the Koch family is an oil family group looking to convince voters that anything to do with climate change is against freedom, is going to be economically disastrous. And so what they do is they tell lies, and Americans for Prosperity is a front group for telling lies. And I want to show the backstory of this short scene in the movie, so I'm going to push pause from time to time, and it may take a while to go through this short segment. So
Koch
I'm
Industries
scoot
is
ahead a
heavily
little bit
invested in
to
oil,
114.
tar sands.
You notice they're, by the way,
some of the biggest.
they're notorious for having been disastrous for the environment and indifferent towards environmental regulations. The Koch family has been sued for successfully for millions and millions of dollars. And their money comes from oil. They don't want to lose that money. And so this is a group, Americans for Prosperity, and anything to do with renewables and clean energy goes against freedom, goes against liberty. We want our gas. And so that's kind of a red herring. Let's make it about liberty. Let's make it about freedom. Let's not make it about something important like, the climate changing in ways that can prove disastrous. Very brilliant front group, extraordinarily dishonest, well-funded.
Americans began going, well, wait a minute, I'm going to be paying more for everything, and it means a little bit less freedom. I think the American public has moved our way. Polls confirm that. We want to make sure that both parties know we're going to hold them accountable. Republicans too, absolutely.
Should I think of you as a liberal?
So this was a great example of holding people accountable. Bob Inglis, Republican, very conservative candidate from South Carolina, went to Antarctica as part of a congressional committee, talked with the scientists, and came back and realized, oh my God, what they're saying is true. And so what he did then is he spoke before Congress, and this is what happens.
Liberal or conservative or?
I think pretty conservative is how you should think of me, 93 American Conservative Union rating, 100% Christian Coalition, 100% National Right to Life.
With your help, we can reclaim the Congress.
I represented the 4th District of South Carolina, which is probably the reddest district in the reddest state of the nation. When I was first in Congress, I was a complete denier. I said there's hooey, absolute nonsense, Al Gore's imagination. I hadn't really thought about it. I just knew that if it was coming from the other team, it had to be wrong.
So this is a classic reason a lot of people don't believe in climate change, is that it's coming from the other team. As he says, Al Gore, it's got to be wrong. But Mr. Inglis is also a man of intellectual integrity, so look what happens.
I got on the science committee and had the opportunity to go to Antarctica twice, actually. I saw the evidence in the ice core. You can pull it up and examine the CO2 levels. They were really stable, and then coinciding with the Industrial Revolution, there's an uptick. The chemistry is real clear, that you're changing the chemistry of the air. So I decided, really right then and there, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do something.
Madam Speaker, what I'd like to say tonight is that there is a need to act and to come together to find a solution that breaks our addiction to oil, that creates new energy jobs, and that cleans up the air. Of course, that was too much.
And when he says that was too much, what happens is the Koch brothers, with Americans for Prosperity, basically using social media, organized a flash mob. Now, I've done some background readings on this, so that when Bob English showed up to speak in his district during the primaries, I believe in 2010, 2008, very important to keep that time in mind. Instead of having 25 or 30 people, he had hundreds of people. There were cameras in the back of the room, which alerted him that something strange is going on. And what they did is they organized a scene that made it look as if there was a popular uprising against Bob English, when in fact it was a social media generated flash mob. This is the Koch family's billions at work. And then about 2 weeks before the primary, they elevated, let's say, an $80,000 per candidate race into being much more expensive by giving his opponent several $100,000 to flood the congressional district with printed ads in the mail, with radio and television spots, and just completely annihilated him. And then we get Trey Gowdy as a replacement. He's a Koch brothers, let's say, lapdog. And so let's watch how this works out here.
Great peril, I suppose, with the Tea Party coming on and the Great Recession happening.
Jim Phillips is helping to organize some of the protest parties.
It's a genuine grassroots uprising. Groups like Americans for Prosperity, we're working and helping and organizing.
So this is not genuine grassroots. This is Koch-funded flash mob.
There's a tide of doubt that comes out of the Great Recession where we started to doubt every institution, And along comes some people that see the opportunity.
Coming up next is a global warming tax. It's a pretty cold night in April here, right?
Americans for Prosperity has been amazingly effective. They're able to organize that discontent.
In the name of Al Goreism. And by the way, can we just talk about Al Gore for a moment?
If you see Republicans becoming sympathetic to carbon tax, do you view it as your job to knock those guys out?
Well, we hold both parties accountable.
We don't always see eye to eye, do we, Newt?
This is cool. Now, this is where people miss it because you don't have the background. Two political enemies, Newt Gingrich on the right, Nancy Pelosi on the left, and both of them agreeing in early 2008 that climate change is something we have to address. But after the Koch brother funded campaign knocked Bob English out in the Republican primary, the Republican candidates changed their tune because they didn't want to get knocked out by Koch family billions. And that's the story here. But if you don't understand how getting primaried works and how that scares the spit out of, and has worked effectively out of these Republican candidates, you'll miss the point. This is oil money at work. Before, Republican, Democrat, climate change is real. Look what happens after.
No, but we do agree our country must take action to address climate change.
The facts of global warming demand our urgent attention.
We have had climate change. Clearly, humans have something to do with it.
I remember in the mid-2000s, so many Republicans, they had a lot of the same tenets of faith that Democrats still many have today.
I think the risks of climate change are real. I think human activity is contributing to it.
Those days are over. Very few Republicans are playing that game anymore, and a lot of Democrats have bailed out as well.
So you have Newt Gingrich at the beginning of 2008 on the couch with Nancy Pelosi. And by the end of 2008,
Do you believe
in man-made global warming?
I don't think we know.
My view is that we don't know what's causing climate.
Now, I have to say, Mitt Romney, who is a brilliant man, is not a good liar. Maybe it's because of his deep faith as a Mormon. He always gulps before he lies. It's funny. It's a nervous tic. He did that as a candidate in the debates, too. Whenever he was telling a politically useful lie, he kind of had this nervous tic. It's very fun.
Change on this planet.
George, the idea that carbon dioxide is harmful to our environment is almost comical.
We've run TV ads in Republican states with Republican senators like South Carolina.
And this is the Koch-funded flash mob. Normally he'd get 24 people. Now he had, a few hundred all yelling at him. And then that got put into a movie, which turned into a television spot. People hate Bob Inglis. Now, and he lost for the first time in like 18 years. And let me just show you what he's done afterwards. I don't want to go on for too much longer. He started this great group called Republican In, like an environmental Republican group. And I can't push pause on this, but you'll see, there he is. He decided, I'm going to take action. And it's maybe in part because of him that very high percentages of young conservatives, like high 70s, are concerned about climate change and want to do something about it. But just when you think of that tableau there, the short section in the movie, be sure to keep in mind that it's really about the Koch brothers knocking out Bob Inglis because he spoke before Congress of the need to do something on climate change. And that, in early 2008, so frightened the other Republican candidates that they all changed their tune when it came to climate change. That's what that song, Ch-Ch-Changes, comes in. And it just shows you the value of big money distorting our politics and keeping us from addressing the problems we're creating by pumping more and more CO2 into the atmosphere. So that's something I just want to let you know, is that some of these scenes are really deep, and you may not have the background knowledge to give them that kind of sense that I'm giving you with this one. However, you can at least get a feel for the shift. And I hope you understand from this, because this is a scene most people get wrong, the kind of political dynamic behind it. Maybe this will help you a little bit.